Brian Smith is accused of murdering 2 Alaska Native women, videotaping one of the murders with his cell phone.
It showed her laying on the ground on the rug, and she was like all beat up. I mean, her face was not even recognizable.
This is Valerie Kessler. At the time, she was living in a tent. She says she accepted a ride from the suspect, Brian Smith, and took his phone, thinking she could trade it in for something.
And I had been like up drinking and getting high for like 2 weeks straight.
Okay.
So, and then I turned it on, and I was like sober in like less than 5 minutes.
The gruesome video and picture she saw on his phone sickened her. And she saved the contents to an SD card and turned it over to police.
My impression was that this is a very serious matter and that our homicide unit needed to be informed.
The investigation led to first and second-degree murder charges against Smith.
We asked the grand jury to make a special finding regarding substantial torture. That special finding that the grand jury made, if Mr. Smith is convicted, and that finding is upheld by the sentencing judge, could subject him to a mandatory minimum 99-year sentence.
Kessler said she didn't see the man in the video, but he had an accent, just like the suspect.
What specifically stood out about the man to you, as far as physical features or voice?
His accent.
Okay, and what was it? Describe it.
It sounded like European or something.
At one point, the man says, quote, "In my movies, everybody always dies. What are my followers going to think of me? People need to know when they are being serial killed." And while he strangled and beat the woman to death, he was careful not to show his face. But according to court documents, police recognized the voice as that of Brian Smith, who they knew from a previous investigation. The woman in the video was 30-year-old Kathleen Henry. Her remains were found near a highway weeks after police were handed the memory card. Investigators arrested Smith on October 8, 2019, and while being interrogated, he allegedly confessed to the murder of another woman.
Veronica Abachuk. She's 52 years old. Her family reported her missing. She had last been seen by her family in July of 2018.
Abachuk and Henry were both from small villages in Alaska and had experienced homelessness.
I just want to, on behalf of the entire extended Alaska law enforcement team, offer our sincere condolences to the families of the victims in this case.
Smith has pleaded not guilty.
Valerie Kessler is the woman who found that gruesome footage and turned it over to police. Here's what she told the jury about exactly what she saw.
It showed her laying on the ground on the rug, and she was like all beat up. I mean, her face was not even recognizable. And he was hitting her and telling her that she isn't going to leave the hotel alive, that he's killing her.
The jury was then shown the video, which was too graphic to show, but we do have the audio. We must warn you, though, even that the audio may be too disturbing for some viewers.
No, come on. No. We're going on for no. This is like half an hour at least now. We're going on half an hour now. Come on, please, man. Jesus. Yeah, that's it. Just do it. Just take it, swallow it. Just do a nibble shot while we hit your, do like an angle, like an action shot. Okay, we did the nibble shot. You look. You die. You live. You die. You live. You die. Sadly, in my movies, everyone dies. I get the Oscar. Oh, nearly. Okay, so please just finish on time.
Well, chilling details there that are coming out as evidence in front of this jury. Let's welcome in our guest for this hour, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Jack Rice. Jack, that's hard to listen to. You don't have to see it, but those jurors are having to see this inside of the courtroom.
Yeah, this is absolutely horrifying. When you hear something like this, you know, this is exactly what, as a prosecutor, what you're trying to do is you're trying to take a jury out to a space and make them viscerally feel something. I think all of us watching here on Court TV feel exactly the same way. We're listening to this man as he works his way through this. This is absolutely brutal testimony, and this is exactly the kind of testimony that this absolutely wants if you're trying to convict somebody of something like this.
And Jack, watch the defendant's face when that was being shown to the jury. He was watching. I felt like he was engrossed in it and happy about it. There was no remorse. There were no tears, no looking down, no shame. And the jury's going to also pick up on that, I think.
Your Honor, absolutely perfect. What I thought to myself was pride. I saw his face and I thought, pride. I thought this is somebody who's proud of what he's doing, what he's trying to accomplish, what he is accomplishing. How horrifying this is exactly part of the process. That's what he's actually trying to accomplish. And when you recognize something like that, the power that that has for him, what this is, and I think your point, the broader point is, it's not just the evidence that's being presented, it's actually his position watching that evidence come in. The jury is watching both him and it, and they're ping-ponging back and forth to see his reaction to that exact same evidence. And that actually buttresses the evidence itself.
Yeah. Jack, I want to play some sound from the defense, because when we're hearing these chilling details, it's recorded on an SD card. You wonder, where can the defense go in this case? But they talk about some of the likes, some of the fetishes that the defendant had, and let's hear how they presented it to the jury.
You're going to hear that he had a fetish for certain types of sexual content. You're going to hear that he shared that fetish with at least one partner. On the other hand, you're going to hear from his wife that he was a good husband. You're going to hear that he did engage the services of sex workers. You're going to hear that he went to chat rooms. You're going to hear that he viewed certain types of pornography.
Jack, is this a good approach from the defense?
Oh, I think it does help. I mean, from my perspective as a defense attorney, I'm usually fighting very, very strongly to try to exclude pieces of evidence, because what you're trying to do, stateside, is create this holistic figure. And that holistic figure includes, he's a good husband, but contemplate the kind of sexual fetish that he has, what it is that drives him sexually, what drives him to make the decisions that he does. And that has a lot of power from the perspective of the state, and certainly it can drive a jury to say there's something not just sleazy, but dangerous, horrifying even, and then you combine it with tapes and say, guess what? These fit together, and that's really what they're trying to say.
I think I'm just really glad all the pieces fell together in terms of the finding of the SD card. We know the body was found weeks later along a highway. Then he had a confession. I think all these things come together to build a really strong case for the prosecution. Jack, you're going to stay with us. We have a lot more to delve into. When we come back, we'll hear more of the murder videos that were played in court, plus Brian Smith's interrogation with the police. All of this and more you don't want to miss right on the other side of this short break.
You've identified him here in court today, but what specifically stood out about the man to you as far as physical features or voice?
His accent.
Okay, and what was it? Describe it.
It sounded like European or something.
That was Valerie Kassler, the woman who turned over an SD card containing 39 images and 12 videos to police, all of which the prosecution says document the murder of Kathleen Henry.
Investigators were able to identify 52-year-old Brian Smith as the suspect after hearing his distinguishable South African accent on those videos. He is now the defendant standing trial and facing 14 charges, including second-degree murder.
Now, the jury knew that the day would come when they would have to watch these sadistic, recordings of Henry being savagely killed on camera by the defendant.
And still nothing could prepare them for what they would see and hear inside that courtroom. We'd like to take a listen. We cannot show you the video, but first we must warn you, even the audio content is very graphic.
He continues to strangle Henry and telling her she needs to finish this movie. He makes a comment asking, do people need to be taught how to die these days? Tells her to take one for the team. And then he says, do you realize I still have to carry your sorry ass down to my car and go dump you somewhere?
Listen, you need to finish this movie because I just can't go on anymore. Gauze once for yes, gasp twice for no. Oh geez, there was two gasps. But you're resisting me. Okay. So here's the throat, here's the hair, here's the string I've got. I've got a string there. Okay, I'm gonna pull the string quickly, okay? Yeah, it's all tightened. Just put your face forward, you stupid bitch. Do people have to be taught how to die these days? After 112,000 years of evolution, you haven't learned to die yet. Huh? Bitch. I don't have time for you. You are drinking time off. I got a bottle of whiskey still to go through, and it's already like bitch. Come on, just take one for the team, bitch. Huh? Take it for the team. Take it for the team, bitch. Super. I know this is like weird, but swallow it. Just fucking swallow it. To carry your sweaty ass down to my car and go dump you somewhere, huh? You just my entire evening, bitch. Huh? Just finish, please. I'm tired. I need to go on straight and narrow. Bitch. Huh? Just stop.
The jury also watched hours of Smith's police interrogation, where he was confronted with these images that were stolen from him on that SD card of him killing someone in a hotel room. He acknowledged that the evidence strongly suggested that it is, in fact, him in the video.
You know what you did in that video?
Yes. I did not realize this. I did not know this.
You didn't know it, right? Yeah. You're still saying you didn't know that.
Brian, you knew what you did. You knew what you did in the SD card, and you had it in your head. You had that little bit of glimmer of light that maybe they haven't found that SD card. Maybe they don't have that SD card, and they'll never tie that body over there to me. You had that little bit of hope, and then you were on the other side. You're like, but if they did, this is what I'm going to be ready. This is what I'm going to say. This is, and
You clearly didn't know you were going to have your license plate in the photos, right?
Yeah, that's. I would not do. If I had to do something like this, I would not do that.
That's right. You wouldn't plan that this way.
Yeah.
Right. So clearly it wasn't planned.
Yeah.
That wasn't thought out very well. It was something that happened.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that was planned. There was absolutely. You can tell there was no planning on this.
Yeah. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. This is someone who's an amateur, doesn't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, this is you.
And I'm cleverer than that.
You are. So you would have never, you didn't need to lose that SD card. You didn't need for it to end up in our hands because you know in your head that if we had never found that SD card, then we wouldn't be here right now. Wouldn't we? Yeah. Now you know. Now you realize that we do, and now you're trying to figure out how to get yourself out of it.
I can't get out of it. You got evidence on going to the jail.
Right.
There's
So with everything that we have here, the smart Brian Smith is going to sit here and say, I remember everything except the time I picked her up and where, until the next day when this person just happens to be in the back of my truck. And I wait 2 days, I don't know what to do. And then I happen to just take a picture because I don't remember what I did. And I thought, well, I'll just take a picture of this dead person who I find in the back of my truck. No, this is you bolstering. Yeah. Just like you did with the drunk prostitute that you just had sex with, that probably doesn't even know you had sex with her.
Yeah.
And your words, this is just you bolstering.
Yeah.
This is just you bolstering also, right? Both of these are the not smart Brian Smith, because the not smart Brian Smith doesn't go out and have dangerous sex with someone who's probably had sex with God knows how many people. That's the type of second life or whatever that you have going on, right? But the Brian Smith knows that that's happened. The smart Brian Smith. And he has to know that there's a logical explanation that maybe that doesn't make sense to people, or it sounds weird, or it sounds kinky, or it sounds bad. But the video portrays that. There's no getting around that. So there's no getting around the way you're talking, the how direct you're being, how intentional you're being, with the narrative that you're doing. What's the smart Brian Smith going to say?
I don't know. I can tell you that I am worried that I'm going to say something that's... Look, I'm in trouble. I know I'm in trouble. There's no line, but I'm scared I'll say something that gets me into worse trouble. That makes it look like I'm a really bad person.
Still with us, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Jack Rice. We just heard the defendant say to the police, I'm in trouble. I know I'm in trouble. But Jack, in listening to that portion of the interrogation video, the detectives were doing a lot of the talking. Tell us about this style of interrogation or your thoughts.
It's a great question because interrogation styles can be a lot different. And I'm taking you back, not just as a former prosecutor, but I recall a course I took when I was with the Central Intelligence Agency called Information Elicitation. No joke, that's what it was called. And what we were doing is it was styles of interrogation. Frequently and sadly, sometimes what I see from the police are sort of top-down, powered-down interrogation styles. And frankly, that's not always the right way. And the reason is because if you listen to the tape of Smith and you listen to how desperate he is for power, the thing is sometimes what you want to do is you want to give those people the power and say, Mr. Smith, you're brilliant. You're a genius. How is it you were able to get away with this? How is it that you planned this? Explain this to us, because we're trying to understand how you were able to do this so incredibly well. Now, understand the purpose of that, Your Honor, is really to look at this and to say, teach us. Help us understand. And you will have some people who are driven by the need to justify the things that they do and to establish just how incredibly intelligent they are. You have to find people where they are. You don't bring them to where you are. That is how you drive people to speak.
Jack Rice, the details are so horrific, and it's being played inside of this courtroom. The prosecution wanted to close the courtroom to prevent it from being revealed, but there were members of the media, the journalists there in Alaska, who pushed for this court to remain open. And I think it's a very real example that often gets underreported, highlighting the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women. We have 2 victims here who police even said they would not have pointed the finger at him had it not been for this stolen SD card. Your thoughts on allowing the court to be open and allowing those who are inside of the courtroom, the public, to be able to see these things as difficult as they are to watch?
Oh, Julia, thank you so much for asking that. I'm telling you, I'm a registered member of the Luiseño tribe out of the West Coast. And this is in epidemic levels when you look at the number of women of color, but specifically indigenous women who have disappeared in extraordinary numbers. And the numbers are catastrophic. And what we need in this country is transparency. That transparency applies, I think, to the criminal justice system in general, because people have to buy into that system. That's one big piece. But the other part is to show the indigenous community, not just in Alaska, but frankly, across the United States, that we actually care. That these are people too, and that they matter as well. And so transparency is also about legitimacy, making sure people understand that the system works and that it applies to all, not just a very small minority or people who look a certain way or act a certain way or are well-heeled or are well-connected. This is great.
My mouth's hanging open to both of you because that was such a great conversation to bring to the table.
Absolutely. And we will continue to follow what happens in this really hard to watch case.